You hear that? You gotta love BMW drivers. Hey guys, it's Caleb Cool, and today we're going to talk about the Sony 16 to 50 millimeter 3.5 to 5.6 kit lens. It's a mouthful. So in this video, I really hope to give you guys an objective review of this lens. We're going to talk about the pros and the cons. We're going to really put the OSS to the test, and we're going to take a few photos. Fair warning, this is not one of those pixel peeping reviews. We're not going to be zooming into the images, 400% and checking edge-to-edge sharpness or looking at the chromatic aberrations. That's just not this video. There's a lot of other videos out there that already do that. And we're just going to really focus on the practicality of this lens. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. It's 2020. This lens has been out for a while, so why do a review on it now? Well, since this lens came out, Sony has also released the a6500 and the a6600, which I'm shooting on now. And both those cameras have in-body stabilization. So paired with this lens, you can get some pretty amazing stabilized shots. Now, I know this lens has been met with a fair share of criticisms, and we'll touch on its shortcomings. However, for around $100, I would argue that this is probably the best budget lens you can get for your money. So before we dive in, if you guys don't mind hitting that subscribe button, I would really appreciate it. I'm new to the YouTube space and really could use the love. So without further ado, let's dive in. How shaky this thing is. A lot of jitters, a lot of shake. Okay, so we made it to the Angeles Forest and just stopped and looked at playback, and the fact that you can get that kind of stability out of a $100 lens, at least that's what I paid for it, it's impressive. It's especially impressive considering how shitty this rig is. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different joints, 1 point of contact, and you guys saw it. This thing was shaking all over the place. Let's take it up to the forest to see how she does on the windy roads. Well, here we are, guys, at the top of Little Tahunga Canyon Road in the Angeles National Forest, and I kind of wanted just to pull the camera out and give a little walk and talk with you guys just so you can get a sense of what it might be like to vlog with this lens. Now, I'm about 5'10". I'm not a big dude, not super tall. I don't have this on a mountain or anything. This is just my hand reaching out and vlogging. How's it feel? Okay, so hopefully that footage kind of gave you an idea of what it's like to work with this lens, at least from a super DIY handheld approach, under some pretty extraneous circumstances. I mean, that carb mountain there was just awful, and it held up pretty well. So overall, I'm pretty impressed with the image stabilization for handheld vlogging, pretty stable. But now I want to kind of take this lens out and just shoot a few stills with it. I'm not going to get super technical with this thing. I know it's not the sharpest lens in the world. I'm just going to go out and shoot some images and see what I can do with them. If you're uploading to Instagram, or you're just taking shots with your friends and family, I have a feeling this lens is going to be pretty decent. So let's go check it out. All right, so it's day 2 checking out this lens. Picked up my buddy Brandon here. We're gonna go to Malibu and just take some more photos and some videos. Alright, so as you guys can see, I had a lot of fun running around with this little lens. It's a fun lens, what can I say? But let's really dive into what I consider the big pros and cons of this lens and whether or not you might want to consider it for your tool set. Alright, so pro number 1. This thing is super light, guys. I mean, literally, I could walk around all day vlogging with this thing and I just would never get tired. Pro number 2. This thing is super discreet, guys. Throw this on any A6000 body and you're gonna look like just some normal tourist running around taking snapshots. So if you need to steal a scene in a record shop for your next movie, or you need to pick up some snapshots at your local coffee shop, literally no one's gonna be the wiser. Number 3, the focal range. Guys, I love this focal range. It's equivalent of a 24 to 75 on a full frame sensor. This is the holy grail of focal range. And the fact that you can get that kind of focal range in this small of a body with a decent aperture, I mean, I think it's pretty great. Number 4, the OSS. Okay guys, this is where I think this lens really shines. Where else can you get a $100 lens that has built-in OSS that's this good? I mean, you guys saw how crappy that rig in the car was. I mean, I had one point of contact on multiple joints and that thing was still putting out usable images. So OSS, a big win for me. Okay, so those are some of the pros that this lens has to offer. Now let's talk about the cons. Con number 1. It's not the sharpest lens in the drawer. It's just not. I would love if this lens was like a Zeiss or something like that, but let's get real, guys. It's a $100 lens and this thing has its limits. It just does. But I will say, if you stop this thing down between 5 and 8, this lens is plenty sharp. Con 2, this lens is not for bokeh nerds. I'm sorry, you're just not gonna get that creamy background that I know all you bokeh nerds just love to drool over. That's not this lens. I'm sorry, guys. So that's a big con as well. Pro tip, compose your shots better. Compose your shots better, guys. Don't always rely on bokeh. As long as your composition is good and what you're actually pointing your camera at is something that's interesting and cool to look at, then bokeh plays such a small part. I'm telling you, don't always rely on bokeh. Shoot higher f-stops. Work on your composition, work on your talent, work on your styling, work on whatever you're pointing your camera at. Okay, so those are the big pros and cons of this lens, but where does that leave us? Let's answer that big burning question. Should I buy this lens? And to that I say a big fat resounding why not? It's $100. I mean, you could probably not go to Starbucks for a week and afford this lens. It's small, it's discreet, it has great OSS, especially when paired with an A6600 or an A6500. You can carry it around all day and never get tired. I mean, it's so small you can quite literally put it in your pocket. I mean, George Costanza's wallet's bigger than this thing. Now, is this lens gonna be my personal absolute go-to? Probably not. But I will say, if I'm just headed to a barbecue or I'm going to a pool party, or if I know I'm going someplace where I'm just gonna take photos that are just gonna end up on the web, yeah, this is the lens I'm gonna use. It's a small, fun, cheap lens with pretty decent performance that you can beat up, throw around, and if you break it, who cares? Buy another one. So that's it, guys. All things considered, this lens gets a thumbs up for me. But hey, I'm not the final authority. If you guys have thoughts on this lens, leave a comment below. I'd be happy to discuss them with you. And I'm really interested to see what you guys think about this as well. Also, if you guys have any questions for me regarding photography, the industry, lighting and grip, etc., please feel free to ask. I would love to address them in a future video. So until then, take care of yourselves.